So, is the city and town of Kannapolis an up-and-coming, booming town? Or is it the ugly cousin of Charlotte? Well, it depends upon how long you've lived in Charlotte, but I'm going to take you through not only the history of Kannapolis, but also why you might want to call it home. If you're looking for everything Charlotte, North Carolina, including the border of South Carolina, the good, the bad, and everything in between, you have come to the right channel. Be sure to go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and if you want to know exactly when I post a video and stay up to date, go ahead and hit that notification button, and I'll be sure you get a message notifying you of all of our most recent videos. Now, I get calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you moving to the Charlotte and surrounding areas. So if that's you, whether it's 9 days or 90 days from now, across town or across the country, be sure to hit me up. Text, email, call. I'm here to help you make your move exactly what you want it to be. So let's talk all about Kannapolis. Now, those that have grown up or lived in Charlotte for a number of years might still have a negative opinion of Kannapolis. And the reason for that is, well, it was a smaller town with rundown houses and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on. Here's the cool thing. Kannapolis has exploded. In fact, because of its location, as well as a lot of the money that's been put into renovating, regentrifying, and boosting the economy in the area, not only has the area become a more interesting place to visit, but it also has boosted the home values and a lot of opportunity for living in the area. In fact, there are homes that you can find in Kannapolis, new construction-wise, that are up in the $500,000 to $700,000 range. So there's a little bit for everyone. And here's the cool thing. There are plenty of starter value homes in the Kannapolis area that are absolutely beautiful, under $400,000. So if you're thinking about a home in this area, Kannapolis might be where you need to go. So let's talk a little bit about the history and fun facts of Kannapolis. Kannapolis sits about 20 miles outside of downtown Charlotte. Now the cool thing about that, from Kannapolis downtown to Charlotte downtown, it would take you about 30 minutes of drive time. That's not bad if you're commuting. Now, granted, could you go faster? Yes, because I know we don't exactly follow the speed limit on I-85. I get it. But if you're actually trying to plan a commute and you plan on being in downtown Charlotte, figure it'll be about 30 minutes or so. Now, if you are going to be working in the South Park area or South Charlotte, make sure you go ahead and assume it's going to be about 40 minutes to 45 minutes to get to either of those locations, and you have to account for traffic. The great thing about Kannapolis, it does sit right on I-85, just barely northeast of Charlotte. So as you're heading into town, it gives you easy access to 45, inner and outer loop, and really anywhere in between, including 77. So Kannapolis borders a couple of other towns, including China Grove, Landis, and Concord. In addition to that, it is actually pretty close to Mooresville. Now you might be wondering how that's possible, because Mooresville is all the way on the north side of I-77. But if you take a look on the map to see where they are, there's actually a nice little cut through right there, making Kannapolis actually closer to Mooresville than it is to Huntersville. Pretty interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Kannapolis. Kannapolis' history actually dates all the way back to 1906, when James Cannon purchased dozens of properties in the area to create the Cannon Mills Company. Now, what you're going to find in Kannapolis, and this is why they're here, are a ton of mill houses. And the mill houses are there because of the Cannon Mill Company. That's right, the company actually built all of these houses so that the employees could live on the property with very low rents, very low expenses, free trash pickup, no taxes, you name it. So it actually made it a community of those that worked at the mill. Now, this is something that's very common throughout many of the areas of the South, including North and South Carolina, of course, is when these mills came into town, they created these mill homes, these mill communities, and you can see basically the homes that have been pulled over from that time, many of which are 2 and 3 bedroom, 1 bath homes. Now, the interesting thing is, over the years, many of these homes have been renovated, regentrified, and you're going to see a lot of that in Kannapolis. In fact, I'm actually doing another video that you guys can see here soon of a home being regentrified from the 1930s. Really cool, I'll take you through it. But for this video, just understand that a lot of the homes that you're going to find in Kannapolis are going to be much older homes, And now as things have started to grow, you're gonna see newer communities, not only from the 90s, the 2000s, also today. So funny enough, the town Kannapolis was actually named after the company, and it wasn't fully incorporated until 1984. So while it does have a rich history and past, well, it took a little while to incorporate. So with such a rich history in textiles, and actually it was one of the main textile hubs in the country for a very, very long time. In fact, the company actually became one of the world's largest providers of textiles. World's largest. Think about that, right here in Kannapolis. Pretty cool. And another thing that I'm going to mention with this, you can still see the old mill. It's been completely regentrified, which we absolutely love, and I think I've talked about this in some of my other videos. Here in the Carolinas, especially in Charlotte, reusing buildings that have already existed and have had different pasts, we love to do that, including taking old mills and turning them either into condos or shopping centers. You name it, we love to keep it. So let's talk a little bit about the demographics of Kannapolis. There's about 47,000 people that live in Kannapolis, and depending upon when you see this video, I'm sure it has increased. But what we've seen over the past several years is that the population has continued to increase, especially as people are moving out of Charlotte. Now, when I mention that people are moving out of Charlotte, it's not because Charlotte's bad. It's because as things grow and people want a little bit more space, maybe a little bit more land or a house at a lesser price, they're gonna go to the towns that are on the outskirts, the suburbs of Charlotte. The cool thing is, because Kannapolis is one of those suburbs and it's still so close to the city, it gives the advantage of people being able to commute to work still, getting more house or a same house for a lesser price, and still having that small town feel, which is really important to many people in the area. In Kannapolis, the median household income is between $57,000 and $62,000 per year, depending upon which source you look at. Now, with that being said, 85% of the population is above the poverty level. When we're looking through Kannapolis, we're still going to see that there are a lot of homes and neighborhoods in Kannapolis that have not quite been regentrified and perhaps have those of a lesser income level. Now, the nice thing about this is Kannapolis has started to put so much money into the economy as well as into the infrastructure of the city to allow for these people to have additional help, but also help renovate and improve their homes as well, thereby bringing them up as the town grows, which is really cool. Now, when we're talking about housing, the median home sale price is $285,000. Now, as I've said in other videos, this depends upon the house, right? If you are in a 3,000 square foot home, it's not going to be that low, but we're also including homes that are one bed, one bath. So the median is $285,000 in Kannapolis. It's actually down 4.7% year over year from March 2022 of when I have this information pulled. But what we are starting to see is an increase. Now, over the last month, 75 homes were sold. Year over year, if we're looking at that, this time last year, 91 homes were sold, so it's down a little bit. But what we've started to see is we actually have more homes that are going under contract now, so it's going to start to shift and probably increase again, especially as rates begin to drop, which everybody's very excited about. Now, if you're moving here from out of state and you've ever viewed anything else about the area, you probably know that the weather is pretty even keeled. That's right, we don't have crazy snowstorms. Even in summer, it does get hot, it does get humid, but it's nothing crazy. So when we're talking about your average temperatures in winter, you're usually in the upper 40s. Now, for any of my northern friends, that is summertime, right? But for any of my southern friends, it's still a little bit chilly. Now, when we flip over to the summer, your average summer temperatures are going to be in the mid 80s. Again, we do get sometimes temperatures up to 100 degrees. But it's not sustained. It's usually just a heat wave, which everybody gets, including all my folks up in New York and my folks in Cali. So we get it, it does get hot here, but we're not gonna get snowstorms. We really don't get ice storms. We've gotten maybe a bit of a snowstorm maybe once in the last 5 years that was significant. We don't get hit by hurricanes. Now we might get some rain that comes in from the off wing of a hurricane, but we don't get hurricane force winds. Now, the most that we get is sometimes a little bit of flooding if we have excess rain, but honestly, that hasn't happened in about 2 years. So if you're looking for a spot that doesn't have extreme weather, this is the place to do it. In addition to that, we have some beautiful thunderstorms that come through in late spring, early summertime, and fall is absolutely gorgeous. You have warm weather all through fall with the beautiful changing of the leaves. Can you tell I like it? Yeah, well, it's a beautiful area, and the nice thing about Kannapolis is it's a lot more rural or country. Now, when we're talking rural, I don't mean there's nothing there. There's plenty there, and I'm going to show you exactly what's there in some of my other videos about Kannapolis, so be sure to watch. But when we're talking about rural, it means that there's just it's not as city-like. The homes are more spread out. You have the opportunity to buy some land. So if you're looking for acreage with a nice house, this might be the place to be. So let's talk about schools a little bit. Now, the school ratings vary widely, and I highly recommend checking out greatschools.com. One thing to keep note of though, when we're looking at school ratings, it doesn't just have to do with the test scores. I know, it drives me absolutely bananas, but it's not just the test scores. What also comes into it is equity scores, meaning what percentage of the population of children going to that school are impoverished or have family income that's below a certain amount. And those particular children that are going to these schools are actually graded more heavily, so it's a weighted average. So if they're doing worse, it actually brings the whole school down. Now, don't mean anything negative by this, it's just an understanding of when you're seeing a school score of 5 out of 10, it doesn't mean the school is terrible. It just might mean that from an equity standpoint, there might be children that have lesser income families than those that are also going to the school on the flip side. So take a look at that. But the interesting thing about Kannapolis, not only are there public schools, there's also 3 private schools. Now, all of these are Christian academies, and they are as follows: North Kannapolis Christian Academy, Faith Christian Academy, and Franklin Heights Christian Academy. Now, all these schools obviously they're private, so they are paid, and you would have to pay to put your children into these schools, but it's nice to know that no matter where you go in the area, if you do want the option for private school, you can do that. Now, in the Charlotte and surrounding areas, it has been passed that there is school choice. So we're going to be seeing some things that are going to change up when it comes to the school system in the coming years as this unfolds. So pretty excited to take a look at that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the economy of Kannapolis. It still remains one of the top 20 cities in North Carolina. And like any city, there is crime. The great thing is there's been some new laws that were put into place several years ago, still new, but the crime rates in Kannapolis have absolutely plummeted, and they have remained on a downward swing for the last several years. What this means is even though the city is growing, crime is decreasing, meaning even though population is going up, the crime that's going on is going down. Part of that is the individuals perhaps who are doing most of the crime are moving out. But the biggest thing is because of the laws that have been changed, there's been a crackdown, which means our forces are out and making sure that people are remaining safe. It was not a place where most people wanted to live about 12, 15 years ago. So if you're someone who lived in Charlotte a while ago or still live in Charlotte, you might remember that Kannapolis was not a spot you wanted to be. But like most small towns and cities that begin to grow and regentrify and have a flush of not only income to the economy, but also new construction homes and people moving, this is going to change for the good. And this can be said for several other towns surrounding Charlotte, such as Gastonia as well as Concord. So Kannapolis is not the Kannapolis of 15 years ago. In fact, it's very, very different. Now, the city itself, as well as some private investors, have put millions of dollars into the downtown area, including adding some beautiful buildings, regentrifying the downtown streets, and even adding a baseball stadium and new baseball team. Now, with that being said, as you introduce these kinds of businesses into a town, it's going to go ahead and boost the economy, bringing in more people, more money, and thereby improving the town, which is really exciting. Now, what's really pushing this is the economic plan that was put together for Kannapolis starting in 2012 when this was put together. What this outlines is different things such as economy growth, which is businesses, etc., putting together that baseball team to bring people in, which are not only visitors and tourists, but make sure that the actual people that live there have a place to go and be proud of. Updates and improvements in downtown, updates and improvements to the actual infrastructure, which is extremely important. Most people don't think about this. Having houses and things like that built are great, but if you don't have the roads, the electrical, the water, all of the things that come into creating those systems, it's not going to grow the way you want it to, and you're actually going to have issues such as traffic. And that's where traffic comes from, is the influx of people moving to a smaller area that wasn't previously prepared for it. Because of these improvements that started back in 2012, we have started to see significant changes in Kannapolis. One of the biggest ones is the improvement in price. In fact, I remember selling some mill houses back earlier in my career, which was 8 years ago in Kannapolis, for $40,000. You would be hard pressed to find a home, even a 2-bed, 1-bath, for less than $150,000, even in terrible shape. That goes to show you how much things have improved in the area. So, why do I think that Kannapolis is actually not only an up and coming, but already arrived town and city just outside of Charlotte? Most of this comes down to who's going there, why are they going there, what are the improvements that have been made and are going to be made into the future, and what's the opportunity, and I always look at the opportunity, right, in purchasing a home and building equity. The equity being built in homes in this area is going up. I know I talked about last year, yes, the price went down slightly. It was like 4.7%, but the previous years leading up to that, when everybody went down for a few months, was 10 to 20%. And what we're expected to see and what's projected over the next year is going to be at least a 6% increase, and it'll be even more than that moving into the future. So, why do I love Kannapolis? Well, it's close enough, you get space, you get a great home for the price, and, well, I really love the downtown, which I'll give you a tour of and a map tour in some of my other videos. So if you found this video not only intriguing, but also informative, go ahead and drop a comment below on some of the other info you might have about Kannapolis or questions you have. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you know how it goes. Whether it is 9 days or 90 days, whether it is across the country or just across town, if you're ready to move, make sure to reach out, text me, email me, call me. I'm here to make your move exactly what you want it to be. Until next time, I look forward to showing you around town.